it's your girl Theresa, and this is another episode of Behind the Highlight Reels. So, as we always do, I'm going to give you a quick moment to share the video as you come in. And I'm going to do this twice because I know some people need a little extra 30 seconds. But for the people who don't know, let me just give you a quick synopsis of what's going on. So, I am Theresa, am not Teresa, but Theresa. I want to make sure that everyone knows the correct way to say it. This is Behind the Highlight Reels, and this show was created so that we can actually discuss transparently the things that go on behind the beautiful social media highlight reels. Because I truly believe that those things, those moments, and those experiences that happen behind the highlight reels are where the true testimonials are and where the true lessons are learned. So I created a show to talk about just that. Okay, so as I stated, I'm going to give you a moment because social media sometimes does not work with me. I'm going to give you a moment to share. As you come in, share. I'll share, you share, we all share in 30 seconds. Woo! Let me tell y'all, that 30 seconds be going by quick. And as slow as Facebook is for me today, it takes a little bit of time. So I was able to share for the people who are on my regular page. Yo, this is going to be an exciting episode today. Thank you for the replay viewers who come in after us. I know I try to make this during lunch times that Eastern and Central and everybody actually worldwide can watch. During some point of their lunchtime. And sometimes, some people only have 30-minute lunches. Some people have an hour. So people come in and out. But thank you guys for the replay viewers for coming back to view the episode, because this is one episode you do not want to miss. All right, so give me one moment. Let me check, because y'all know Facebook be playing with me sometimes. Check to make sure I was able to share. All right, girl, we in there. So today we are talking about balancing hats as a woman in business. This is right now is a good time, especially with us going into the Christmas season, the holiday season. A lot of people have took on many different hats, especially with their children working for school from home. There's additional hats now. These people have become businesswomen, moms, wives, and then teachers and principals and the PE teacher and all the other teachers in between, right? So we are going to talk about how to balance these different aspects of life as a businesswoman and how to be successful in that, and tips and tricks that our phenomenal guest has learned on her beautiful journey. Okay. So today, guys, we have, and as you come in, you can go ahead and say, hey, let me know that you won. Go ahead and share so that your friends can get this information about balancing these hats as a woman in business. And not just a woman in business, y'all, but anybody in business or trying to balance different hats, period. All right, so today we have Miss Angela Hawke. She is an executive speaker and the founder of Every Business Woman Counts and Win. Win is this amazing group called Women Who Inspire and Network. It's a group of women who come together and literally do just that, inspire and network and build each other up. I am a part of it, and when I tell y'all this group is amazing, I have met so many phenomenal women through this group because of Angela. So if you are a woman in business, make sure y'all go check out the group. Not now, but after the video, okay? Angela's accomplishments include leading local missions, the Care Center to nonprofit a nonprofit in 2014, and they raised over $4 million, y'all, leading the Rocket City School Foundation. I'm sorry, not school, but the Rocket City Foundation mission. And that's a big deal because we know with nonprofits trying to raise money, sometimes it can be a little difficult. So raising $4 million is big. Helping local students who were zoned for these failing schools is significant. Yo, she raised awareness with educational initiatives and meeting people right where they are. That's part of her passion. And when you meet this woman, you will see that is right there where she is. She believes in building up communities and does lots of volunteering works with her time and her gifts, talents with the local communities. Yo, she is amazing at what she's doing. She has a husband who is a Marine, and she has 3 boys, okay? 3 boys. Now, if y'all talk about somebody that knows balancing, I just remember teaching boys, and she has 3 of her own. And she also have a plus daughter-in-law that is an additional. So she knows what she's doing when it comes to balancing people, relationships, families, children, all of that. So I'm not going to belabor the point. Let's go ahead and bring up Angela. Hey, girl.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm sitting here listening to you. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're going to make me cry.
Girl, I absolutely adore everything you are doing from the moment. Y'all, let me tell y'all about how I met her. She had a women's retreat for the WIN program, the group that I was talking about earlier. And I was like, I had just moved to Alabama about a year or so before this retreat. And I was like, you know what? I need to connect with some women in business. God, show me some women in business that I can connect to. I want divine connections. I don't have time to play games. I don't have time to play around with women who think they're doing business. I need to connect, right? And so I was on Facebook and I seen this random women's retreat. And I was like, I never spend money on women's retreats. Let me see what this is about. And she had an interest meeting, and I missed the whole interest meeting because y'all, this when I was doing CrossFit, girl. Okay. So I contacted her, and she was so nice. When she contacted me back, she's like, oh, no, that's fine. Let's meet up and we'll talk about it. We'll go over it. She spent time to talk to me personally about how to go to the women's retreat, what was going to be going on. Because at the time I was like, hey, listen, I don't know about my money. Let me see how much it is. And she worked with me. She spent time with me to understand like what was going to happen at the retreat. And I honestly went to the retreat and invested in this retreat because of how personable she was of getting back in touch with me, how she made sure that she was serving me and making sure that I felt comfortable even investing in a retreat, and not just investing and being comfortable doing it, but knowing what I'm going to get out of it and the worth that I'm going to get. So I was like, I'm going to this retreat. I'm meeting these ladies, and I have not stopped since. She is amazing. So again, thank you, Angela, for coming. Thank you for gracing my show. I'm super excited to have you.
And I just want to remind you of that amazing room you got at the retreat. Do you remember how awesome that was?
That was, y'all, I won. So amazing that I really don't ever win things like when it comes to raffles and stuff. So I actually won the huge room, the biggest room in the tree. It was a single room, and it was amazing. I have to repost those pictures for y'all to see. When I say retreat, this is not we at some random broke down hotel. Like, this was an amazing retreat, y'all. So I'm gonna have to show y'all some pictures so y'all can know what you get when you join WIN, okay? So that, look, I don't start thinking about retreats. Okay, so we're talking about all the things that you do. Tell us a little bit about how you even got started with the WIN group and the retreats and just helping business owners, period.
Well, I was doing it mostly out of selfish needs. I'm just going to be really honest and transparent. You're not going to believe me when I say this because you know me, but I'm really an introvert.
Wow.
I am. And, I can take all the tests all day long, and I'm always going to be an introvert. And so I came from the nonprofit world.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided I was going to take what I learned there and I was going to put it into a for-profit business for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, that means I have to meet people.
Yeah.
I started going to all these different meetings. I was going to the BNI. I was going to women's network meetings. I was going to, you name it, I probably went to it. And I'm going to be honest with you, an introvert does not do well in big settings like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I started devising a way that I could create a small topic conversation in a big way, like to have a big impact, but to do it very small and intimate. And I went to my friend, Ellen Lejeune, and I said, I have an idea. And I had actually gone to a couple other friends, and I'm like, I have an idea. And everybody was like, what are you wasting your time doing that? There's already plenty of things out there for you. Go and do the things that are already out there for you. And so I was talking to, she also goes by Lejeune. So anyone who knows Lejeune, like hands in the air, she's amazing. And so she was the first person who bought into what I had to say. And so she said to me, I have a boardroom. And I said, thank you very much, because I had no money for this. It was just an idea. I knew I wanted to do this, but I didn't know how I was going to do this. And so I was going to keep talking to people until someone believed in it. So I always give her that plug, because if it wasn't for her, I don't know if WIN would exist today. So we had our first, I want to say 4 meetings in her boardroom. And then we started moving into different locations to make it a little more accommodating for people who had to drive long distances. And so it really got started because one person said yes. And I just want to say, like, God is amazing, and he will put the right people in your path if you ask. And, you know, we know the scriptures say, you have not because you ask not. And if God put a seed in your heart and you believe that that is from him and that you're supposed to do something, it's so easy to decide not to do something because it's scary. You know, fear is a liar. So if we're too scared to jump out of the boat and say, like, we're going to take this leap of faith or whatever, it's true. You're not going to succeed because you didn't even try. But as one person said yes, and because I kept pushing, WIN is what it is today. And I'm so excited to say that it's become a name in our area that I meet people and they say, have you ever heard of WIN? And I'm like, yep, I know all about it. And you don't associate it with me, and that's fine, because it shouldn't be associated with me. It's more about the culture.
Right.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love it. You do so much, and just coming, like, not playing, just coming to one of the events is so beneficial. So people are attached as soon as they come to the events, whether it's virtual, because now, because of COVID, we have a lot more virtual things, or personal. I remember when we were in the physical events, I was taking my lunch breaks. Like, hey, y'all, I'll be out for lunch, and I may go over lunch, but I'll work and make up. Like, it was very beneficial. Just the environment that you have when you get to talk to these people or these other ladies, and people are so transparent. It's just, it's amazing. So let's talk about balancing these different acts, because we talked about how you have created WIN, but you also have HLA Consulting, which is your business group. And y'all, excuse if y'all hear the jingling, my baby over there trying to play. You also have your husband, so you are a wife, you are a mother, you are a friend, you do ministry. How do you balance some of those things, especially through COVID? Like, what type of things have you started doing?
Well, you know, I really believe that God comes before everything. And when my life gets off center, and that means God's not in the center of it, then I can feel everything sort of kind of falling apart or becoming frayed at the edges. And so I have to ground myself regularly. It is an intentional thought. I don't just know, like I should know, like I have to put God first, but I really have to be intentional with that. And then of course my family is always second. and my business comes after that. So I feel like, relationships are so important in order to build a business. And if I'm building my family up, then it's easier to build up other people. And really, I believe that God has given me the gift of edification. And so I try to pour into others. And that's just, not only because God gave me that spiritual gift, but also because others have poured into me. So I'm a big proponent of pouring, not just pouring into others, but paying it forward. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I think that I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I think that people forget the edification part of even building relationships.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all about you. And I have a quote that I always said, and it was always, I think it was even on my cap when I graduated, but the success of others, if you want to be successful in life, you make them other people successful, and
That's
you
right.
spend time on serving others. And so that is literally one thing that we can tell you that you do. But I think it's important for people to remember. And I love that you even was so transparent to say, hey, I have to make it intentional to put God first. So many
Mm-hmm.
people are, girl, so spiritual to say, God first, but they are not very transparent to say that sometimes that's difficult. Sometimes we forget God, and it's kind of like the audacity of us to forget God, the one who gave us everything we have. But just the reality of the situation is we forget to go to God first, and that is key to success in everything. And if you forget, come on back. Jesus is like, that's okay, I'm here for you. Let's start over, do it right this time.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know so I applaud you for even mentioning that, because that's very much so relevant in business and life and everything, right? So we know that balancing takes a talent. It is not easily done. Tell me a little bit about some of your difficulties with balancing, and when you knew that, hey, something had to give.
It's really easy to get off track. And I feel like, our lives are like almost like on a teeter totter, or you can say like, the scales of justice where you see like one thing is heavier than the other or whatever. And I feel like, there's this balancing act. How do you balance everything? And it's not a one cut, a one size fits all or a cookie cutter kind of a thing. It's going to have to be real personal. And so, there's plenty of times where I drop the ball, and I'll tell you a real life scenario, and I'm still doing this today, trying to figure out how to not drop this ball. But let me just go back in time and share a little bit about so I'm a mom of 3 boys, but I've got 2 that are out of school. Well, one that's out of school, one that's still in college, and then I have one that's at home in 8th grade. And the 8th grader previously was also homeschooled. So trying to balance like homeschool and running a business. And at one point, we were even trying to sell our house while I was homeschooling and doing work from home. And let me tell you, that was a really crazy time. I finally said, enough is enough. We have to give. Something has to give. But current day, I have learned that I have to shut down my appointments by like 2:30 in the afternoon, because I will drop the ball once I become, like you were saying, changing our hats, like taking one hat off and putting on another hat. By 2:30 in the afternoon, when I'm picking up, now this year is different because of COVID, but like on a normal, when we're not dealing with COVID, we would normally pick up at 2:30. So 2:30 to the, rest of my work day, I'm switching my cap to mama hat. And I will still work at home, but I don't need to be making phone calls, and I don't need to be making face-to-face appointments, because I'm going to screw up. I can guarantee you I'm going to screw up. And so even though my workday may not end until 5 o'clock, that's where I'm going to work on my projects, and I'm going to have my quiet time, so I can go home. I can give him a snack if he needs help making a snack, which he's big enough to make his own snacks. I'm just saying. But if he needs me, I need to be available to him.
Right. So I'm glad
So,
that you even mentioned that, because I learned that, unfortunately. I talked to people about balancing, but I mastered that this year, like within the last couple of months. Because as people know, I work full time, and I also have my own business, and I'm also opening up a um girl, a $500,000 business, and it's still increasing. So um I had, and still trying to be a friend, trying to be a daughter, trying to be a good sister, trying to be a good best friend, like these different hats, and
Right.
still trying to date, find husband, all that good stuff in the means, and still try to work my time with Jesus. So
Right.
I had to learn to say no, like legit say
Yes.
no. And I understanding where I don't have the capacity. I literally just don't have the capacity to do certain things. And I think that when we can realize that and understand where we fit when it comes to, okay, I know where I start to screw up. The reality of it is I can't do that no more. Or
Mhm.
I can't take on anything else. Or even, oh, I really want to join this group, but do realistically, do I have the capacity to be effective and of good quality for that group, or am I just going to be struggling later on? So I'm glad that you took the time to even mention that. So let me ask you this though. What was the one thing that made you realize, like, let me, like, for real, the reality of it is I don't have the capacity to do that. Like, what was there, something that happened? Because as especially women, we will keep taking on and keep taking on and
Mhm.
keep taking on and still try to be superwoman and do it all. Even when we're still dropping the ball, we still, like, we'll still keep trying to pick it up and start over. What was, like, was there something that happened that was like, okay, let me take a step back and really think about what I'm doing, because I'm failing everybody right now.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how other people have poured into me. And in this case, this was just a God divine intervention of a strange woman I had never met before, and I've never met her again before. And I don't know why he knew I needed to meet. We had this intersection in our lives for like an hour one day. Excuse me. And she did not know. I did not tell her what I was going through, and she did not know a thing about me. But for whatever reason, we both had an hour in this one room at a like a lobby in a college, and she started pouring into me. And through that conversation, she shared with me the book called Boundaries from Henry Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, that book has changed my life. It gave me permission to say no, because here I am going to church where people know, like, oh, you need help? Ask Angela. Oh, my own family, like, oh, we're going to have a party. Maybe, there is some party games that we need, or whatever the case may be. I'm just kind of pulling some things out of the air, and they'll be like, Angela will bring it. So I've got my own family, pulling on me. I've got other responsibilities that they're all kind of pulling at me, and I'm trying to figure out, like, how to keep all the balls in the air, and I'm stretched. So I read this book, and it just gave me the power to say no. But you can still say no in a kind way, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to have friends or your family's not going to love you. It just means that you're creating healthy boundaries. And so what I learned from that book, and I would love anyone watching to go and read that book, so I'm not going to tell you the whole synopsis of it, but what I learned was to thank people, because they obviously value you for some reason, whatever the reasons are. They value you enough to ask you, and that's a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
Say to them, like, thank you so much for thinking of me. Do you mind if I take 24 hours, or maybe it's a different amount of time, 7 days, 2 days, whatever? Do you mind if I take a couple of days to think about it? And I promise I will get back with you with an answer. And when you have time to sleep on something,
Yeah.
you have more clarity to come back and say, yes, if you want to say yes, but if you really know your answer is no, just be honest, and they're going to appreciate you for it even more. And you're going to be able to help yourself and ultimately others better. The whole thing about being on a plane, the first thing the stewardess tells you about is, like, the oxygen that comes down. You're supposed to put it on yourself and not the people beside you. Like, if you have a child or elderly person with you, I always was like, what is it about not helping the people? I want to help the people next to me. Well, you can't help them if you're passed out. So put the oxygen mask on, and then help the child and the grandmother or whoever is beside you,
Right. So I'm like you saying stuff and I'm just writing stuff down like, oh, we gotta talk about this. um so I'm excited that you said boundaries. Okay. I think that we think we be having boundaries and then we settle or we
Right.
compromise those boundaries. Oh, this one time I'm a compromise. Or
Right.
this one time I'm gonna just do this, even though I said I ain't gonna do no more. I'm not gonna take on no more. I'm gonna just do this. That is so important for us not to continue to compromise. It's one thing to compromise one time. It's another thing that every time something happens, you compromise, then you ain't got no boundary. Like that boundary, the line that you drew,
You're lying to yourself.
right, it's not existent. So that boundary thing is definitely key. And then I love that you mentioned taking time to respond. That's something I actually tell my
Mhm.
clients and my business coaches and my business students is, hey, you ain't got to answer nobody right then and there. You know,
Right.
you can say, hey, give me a moment or give me a few minutes to think about what you're saying. I don't have to provide you an answer right unless it's dire, somebody's dying. Okay, that's different. But I do not
Right.
have to provide an answer for you right now. And if they can't respect that you want to take time to think about it, then maybe that's your answer right there.
That's
You
right.
and that's how I even think about the situation. And I've honestly realized, like I told you, I've within the last few months have been able to say, I really don't have the capacity. Y'all know, if you've been talking to me the last couple months, capacity, I don't have the capacity is my favorite way to say no. But I've realized that people understand and respect me more for
Yes.
that. And even if I say, I don't have the capacity, but what I can do is maybe, like, for example, I've had some people come and say, hey, can you help me start up a group for this? And I'm like, oh, girl, I support you in what you're doing, but I don't have the capacity to take on all of that. But what I will say is, if you get so many more people to help, then my portion will be smaller, and maybe I'll just review things or provide guidance or provide like that oversight or something. And people are way more willing and accepting of me being honest with them about the capacity versus me saying yes and then I'm not doing a darn thing,
That's right. That's right.
or what I'm giving them ain't worth crap. So
Hmm.
I think when people say no, being more honest would be okay. And I think people have to learn that. Like, I'm not saying I'm beefing with you because I said no. It ain't that I don't support you, or it's just I have to put on my mask first.
Yeah, people see through that. Like if you're saying yes, but you're not really able to, like you say, you don't have the capacity, they
Hmm.
can see right through that. And at some point, you're gonna either lose them as a client, or they're not gonna come back.
And I talked about that in one of my episodes about saying yes when you really can't. And then what happens is, like, for example, at the beginning when the face mask was going on, everybody was making face masks, and people was just taking orders, taking orders, taking orders. And then they saying yes, and now they're not ready. They're not able to meet these orders. And people have been waiting weeks and weeks for a mask that takes maybe 10 minutes to sew. And so they pissed off, and now they're writing all these negative reviews because people got their own opinions now, and now it makes you
Mhm.
look bad. But
Mhm.
had you just been honest from the beginning and said, I really don't, I can't, or maybe your order's going to take a little longer, that type of
Right.
thing. People are so understanding if you give them the
Absolutely.
opportunity to be. And
Yeah.
so, one of the other questions I did want to talk to you about is, now you said what the one thing that helped you in the book and stuff like that, but how important was it to, like, pull your family into this? Because also saying no, and learning, like, your boundaries, of course, involves your family. Like, did you sit down and have a talk with them about, hey, mom is, some of these things that I've been saying yes to, it's not necessarily that I don't love you, but we ain't gonna do that no more. Like, how did that conversation go? Or did you have that conversation? Were they able to just, like, see what was going on? Like, how does that, give me a little bit of information about that?
I don't remember having like a real sit down conversation, but I have pulled in my family. Excuse me. I pulled in my family to get involved. Even my husband, he's a proofreader for me. And so, he'll catch things when I'm, putting out like, let's say some social media, or if it's a video that I'm making, he'll say like, I didn't get this part. Like, can you tell me what that meant? Or can you fix it? Like it was a little bit scattered or whatever. And then, my youngest one, who's home full time with us, he is sort of learning some of the tricks of the trade. And so I'll sometimes ask him just to give me his opinion. Like, do you like it this way? Or do you like it this way? If I'm creating like a digital image for social media. And so he'll give me his opinion. It doesn't mean I always listen, but involving them is really important, because they know when I say like, I'm going to be meeting with a client soon. So like, that whole balancing thing with everybody being home during COVID, one crazy funny thing, like this is just life in my house right now. Sometimes I have a conference call that's like Zoom, like what we're doing today, and I do it in the kitchen.
Right.
My husband's doing it in another room. And so I'll be on a call sometimes, and he'll come in the kitchen and he'll start making eggs, or he'll be making lunch. And so like pots and pans are like banging. And I'm like, please be quiet. And so I've learned that I've had to go to him about a half of an hour before, and I'll say, okay, I'm about to be live on a call and I need real quiet time for about an hour. So that means you have 30 minutes to do whatever you want in the kitchen. You can make all the noise you want. But after that, you have to be quiet for an hour. So if you come in, no microwave, no pots and pans, don't even turn on the water, because I'm recording.
Right. That I think that I love that you pulled your family in that way, because I live by myself, so I don't have those issues. And my dog, she do what she wants when she wants. Whether she pressed record, I see the lights are on. Oh, it's time to play, and that's how she is. But I can only imagine saying, hey, okay, people, family, friends, people here. This is what I'm going to do, and this is what I need. People love being a part of stuff. So I love that you even mentioned, so y'all pay attention, that she mentioned bringing your family into it so that they feel a part of it, especially when you are doing a home business or working from home, having people feel a part of it. Everybody want to be a part of something. And so while they are a part of your success, they have like that pride in it,
Yeah.
So I love that you use that as to help you balance what you have to do.
Yeah.
So now we talked about COVID. How has COVID affected your balancing act with your different tasks and skills?
Well, it put everything out the window as far as the rules go for what we normally do. And so if we go all the way back in time when things started shutting down in March, it was so confusing and concerning, and rightfully so. We've got a lot of people who have been very ill, and fatally as well. And our heart goes out to those people. But, we had that time when we were in a period of curfew. And so we not only were being quarantined, but we weren't allowed to really go anywhere. And if we did go out for just the essentials, we were told to be home by a certain time. And so we owned some property away from our home, which was sort of my saving grace, because, sitting home, everybody listening, if you were sitting home and you were, those four walls start to close in on you. And so I was trying to keep my exercise routine, because I couldn't go to the gym. I was using my accountability partners to meet with on a regular basis, which was also a group of prayer partners. And I would drive every Friday out to my property. And so I had that permission, because if you read the whatever the governor put out as far as like the regulations, they said that if you have farmland, that you can go to your farmland, which we have farmland. So I would drive out there once a week on Fridays just to get a breath of fresh air. And I started painting. Like I was learning how to, like I had been painting a little bit before, just dabbling, but it kind of opened up my creativity to get out into the open spaces and just not really have a plan. And so I painted my first mural, which was really fun. And so far it's my first and my last, but I have plans to do another one. So I'm hoping that there'll be another one in the near future. But it just has shifted everything. And now I feel like, COVID, while it's It's been very difficult for businesses and families. I think it's given us time to like think about how do we want to shift with our businesses as well. And so I've kind of like come back to basics, you know, kind of just get simplified. And I just think like keeping those relationships is important. And so getting back to the painting, I would do a lot of Zoom calls, trying to keep in touch with clients. I would check in with them. How are you doing? Is there anything I can do for you? Trying to pour back into people, not ask them for anything. And if I was on a virtual call with somebody, I would sometimes paint and I would say like, what are your favorite colors? And I would literally paint with them while I was on the phone. Now, sometimes I would show them what I was painting and sometimes they just saw the brush going, but I was like, no, I was stir crazy. So that's how I handled it. And I had fun making some logos for people and just, you know, giving things away because I just had supplies on hand. So that's how I kind of handled the worst part of COVID. And I hope that's true. I hope we're through the worst part of it.
Right. And ironic that you talked about painting. And of course, today I'm in a different location, y'all. But usually where I am, I have that the purple board behind me. And people always ask me like, oh my gosh, I love that. Who did that? Did you buy that? And I'm like, no, my friend Angela did it. And so I definitely appreciate the board that you made for me, that you and Tom made for me. And so for y'all on my other episodes, if you didn't get a chance, go look and see the background, the purple board in my background, because Angela made that. And she's phenomenal even at that. Now, you said something about the relationships and being able to talk to other people to kind of gauge, because I know you also had the prayer group that you were doing so that people can share their prayers and the things that they need to talk to God about and not feel alone. And through COVID, it was vital for us to especially balance in different responsibilities to not feel alone and be very transparent and open. But having people or at least someone to talk to is key, like someone that you can be transparent. I know a lot of times, especially as business women, we feel like we got to put on for everybody, and being able to just be vulnerable in a space with somebody without them judging you is key. So kudos for even being able to connect that, especially at a time such as this. Now, how does hold on, let me find my other question I was about to ask. Okay. So we talked about some of the things that you did to balance and even some of the ways that you realized like, okay, I need to step back, right? How did you, I guess, go about, like, I'm trying to think how to ask this question. How did you go about creating that regimen, you know, creating that me time and scheduling it? Like, for example, my last guest, I think it was the last one, Tara Cartina, she always talks about scheduling joy. And so that's her like something fun that's for me. How did you go about from a moment of where you possibly didn't schedule any me time because you were had so much balance to like, okay, what do I like to do? Because I know for me, for example, when I started dating and a while back and I was on these dating apps, one of the things that people would ask me is, what do you like to do for fun? And I'm like, I don't know, work on my business. and especially now, like some of that is what I like to do, especially my pet business. And so I didn't have anything to say because I never had time for fun. Like I would make fun in what I was doing, but I never had time for like just fun away from work. You get, so how did you go about like, or did you have moments like that where you realized you didn't? And if you did, like, how did you go about like, what do I like to do? That type of thing.
Yeah, so I feel like the painting has really been my saving grace for some time, especially when you can't go anywhere. But just, you know, kind of a fun thing back in January before we knew we were going to be quarantined, I had made a list for myself. And so just being transparent, next March, I'll be turning 50. And so this January that we had 2020, I made a list leading up to that 50th birthday. And it's 50 things that I want to do before I turn 50. Now, I tried to be real careful that I wasn't going to put a whole bunch of things on there that I couldn't afford.
Right.
I want to make sure that they're realistic, you know.
Right.
And so I'm going to say, I don't have my list in front of me right now, but I'm going to say most of the things on my list are others oriented, where I'm doing things for others. Like, so for example, I've been giving blood this year. I haven't given blood until, like, the last time I gave blood would probably have been like 1989 or 1990.
Wow.
So all the way till now, I'm now giving blood again. And I was just thinking I need to make my next appointment. I'm going to do plasma next time. I think that's what they told me they needed. They're low on the plasma. And so I've been checking off my list for things that I'm going to do by 50. Now, COVID has kind of screwed some of those things up, so I'm going to have to shift a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally fine. But I've been taking like 50 sunsets. I've been eating 50 new fruits and vegetables. Well, those are things that are not others oriented. I'm having 50 new dates with my husband. We've been married for 26 years, so it's kind of hard to find a new place, but we're figuring that out, especially under COVID. Like, sometimes our backyard has to be our date night, but you know, like, things are starting to open up again. So, so 50 new dates with my husband. I'm still looking for God to give me direction on this one, but I'd like to, you know, if we can get back into a restaurant, I'm going to be like, okay, scan in the room. Who am I paying for lunch today? I'm going to pay for lunch for somebody, you know, things like that. So that's on my 50 list. But also, I told you this morning that I made an acronym for balance. You know, you can scour like Google Images and you can find all sorts of like acronyms for different things. And I couldn't find one for balance. And I was just looking because I was like, I wonder what other people are saying about balance. So I couldn't find it. I made my own. So to answer your question, the B stands for be kind. And I think that's so important because it means to be kind to yourself and to others. And that's just self-care. And so after you go through like God is first, my family, my business, like you have to find that sweet spot of like, how can I be kind to myself? And so making sure that you take time for yourself is critical. It goes back to that whole airplane scenario of the oxygen's going to drop down in an emergency and you got to put it on. Put the oxygen on. Don't fight about it. Just do it. Right. Add value. That's the A for balance. Add value. And so this is something that I try to do intentionally. And this is just, you know, like I said, part of my spiritual gift of pouring into others. And so whatever that means, it does not cost you a dime to add value to somebody else. It's just a kind word, you know, in some cases. L is leave on time. And what I mean by that is it's so easy, like you were saying a minute ago, just to keep working and working and working and working. And if you have an office that you go to, you just need to leave and go home. And here's the reason. It's going to be there tomorrow. It doesn't matter how long you work. I mean, I'm not saying there's a once in a while time when you're like, I'm meeting a deadline, whatever the case may be. Right. But one time, give your time to your family and know that they're really more important than trying to crunch numbers. The next A is act in a way that honors God. And I say that because it goes kind of back to being kind, but like, you know, there's times when people are not going to be nice to you, whether it's a valid reason or not. People just go out sometimes. And so it doesn't mean you have to respond. Just like you were saying a minute ago about what you tell your coaching students to do. You don't have to make decisions at that moment. And so if it's just a situation where someone's not being kind, it doesn't mean that you have to have that knee-jerk reaction to respond. Right. You can just like put it away for a little while, walk away, and just decide either not to respond later, or you can act out. And, you know, I'm going to say, like, I have to live with myself at the end of the day. So I'm going to try to not act out, but I'm human. You know, I still make mistakes. N is one of my favorite ones, and we've already talked about it, but no is not a 4-letter word. You don't have to feel bad about saying no to something or someone. And then C is call your loved ones often, because you need to stay connected, especially if you don't live in the same city as your loved ones. Make sure you're staying connected with people you care about. And then the last one is E, and just enjoy life and have fun. And I just think like we have to find time to really enjoy the things that we like, you know, or if you don't even know that you maybe just try something new, you might find out you love it. Like we were talking about going golfing, like, yes, I don't know if it's frisbee golf or if it's, you know, real golf, like you might just love it.
So I absolutely love that you took the time to create this acronym. And for y'all, we will make sure we post this so that you guys can see it as well. But I love that you took the time to write it. And some of the things that you were saying, like I'm over here writing, that's why my camera's shaking. Because I'm over here writing some of the stuff that you were saying, especially the leave on time part. That is key. That's again with the boundaries and the balancing. I love that you even added that to it, because sometimes we have to set alarms. Like,
Yes.
okay, for me, because I plan on getting up early and, working out in the mornings and things like that. And sometimes it don't go that way, but my intentions, and I'm getting better at it. But being aware of where I need to make those changes, and I was like, let me set me an alarm. So I have like 3 alarms that's set for me to go to bed. Because that first one I'm gonna ignore, the second one I'm gonna ignore, the third one I'm like, okay, what is all this? And so I'm like, let me go to bed. And even the alarms, what they say on them is discipline. Girl, you got stuff to do. Like, you're working on this business all night, but guess what? Your business ain't gonna succeed if you dead. It's just gonna go on without you.
That is so right.
I love that you mentioned that leave on time. It's very important to create these environments and atmospheres where you can be your best self.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and time is almost up, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. But what is one big tip, the biggest tip that if you wanted to give somebody about balancing the different roles of life, what is the biggest tip that you would want to give?
I think the best thing to do is to find some people that you trust and that are like-minded, and especially if they're God-fearing. I think you need to find your tribe, so to speak. And sometimes your tribe isn't your best friend because maybe they're not in business. Maybe it's a different group of people and maybe you haven't found them yet. And so I would encourage anyone who lives in the area to come to a WIN event, and maybe your tribe is there. Not saying it is, but maybe it is. And if you find some people that you can really use as a sounding board, especially when you're maybe confused or discouraged or need encouragement, whatever, there's someone at WIN who's already been there. And that's what I love about WIN is it's so diverse. We have every background. We have different businesses in different stages. And we have people who are new to business and people who have been in business for 30 years and everything in between. It is so diverse, and that is what I love the most about WIN. So I hope that if anyone watching decides to come, that they will find someone who can be the accountability for them.
Right. And I know you said locally, but y'all, we're in this virtual world, so even if you're not local, join the group. It costs you nothing to join the group right now. And so I would suggest that everyone join something and that's going to give you that place. And as we talked about earlier, which is one of the things that made me start behind the highlight reels, is having that sounding board, the transparency where people can be honest and true and tell you, yo, maybe that wasn't a good idea, or okay, how about you do this? Or, sometimes I just need to vent. I need to speak it out of my mouth. You ain't got to answer me, but I just need to speak it out of my mouth. So I love that's key. Okay, so Angela, how can people get in touch with you? People that want to talk to you about social media marketing, business marketing, want to talk to you about WIN events, or want to talk to you about speaking on their shows and things like that. How can I get in touch with you? The easiest way.
Best and easiest way is my email, hlaconsultingservices@gmail.com.
Okay. And for you guys, there it is right there at the bottom of the screen, her email. And she's even offering you guys a free social media evaluation for those business owners that's like, listen, social media is not my strong point, like me. And so help myself and help my business. So she's offering this social media evaluation. So make sure you guys take advantage of that. Okay.
The email is at Gmail.
Sorry, let me
email in there and you'll be fine.
Sorry, let me go ahead and do that real quick. Here we go. Behind the highlight reels. Okay. So the correct one.
Thank you. There it is. Perfect.
Okay, Angela, thank you, thank you, thank you
Thank
so
you for
very
having
much.
me so
People are
much.
saying they love your acronym, so we're gonna make sure that we put that up. And y'all heard Angela; she created that acronym, so give her props, okay? So thank you guys for catching us on Behind the Highlight Reels. I will see you guys, I think, 2 Fridays from now. And again, when you're ready to contact Angela, make sure you contact her at her Gmail. Thank you guys for the replay viewers that are watching. We will see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.